Okay, Sword of Truth. This honestly isn't easy for me, but we need to talk. I I don't know how to say this, but I don't think we're the right fit for each other anymore. It's not you. It's me. I've evolved as a reader, and I think I've moved past you in a way. It's time for me to move on. I'm sorry. I know this is hard to hear, but it's hard for me too. Breakups are never easy, but it's time to move on. Sometimes there's an inherent danger in rereading a beloved series. So this video today is all about my experience rereading The Sword of Truth. Now that I am through the entire main set of books within this series, and let me tell you, it's been an interesting experience going back and rereading something that is a beloved series for me, but at the same time I feel like I've grown past it, moved on, and I just find that I'm not loving it as much as I used to, which is crazy. In a way, it's almost like a breakup with the beloved series. So we're going to talk about that today. And you could let me know in the comments down below if you have had a similar experience with rereads. So let's talk a little bit about the Sword of Truth series. Now, there are things that I still love about this series. Absolutely. The characters, for sure, something that I absolutely came to love about them. Kaylin and Kara and Nikki and Zed and Richard and Nathan, and all these beloved characters, and some of the most terrifying characters that I've read, honestly, in literature. Emperor Jagang, the Dreamwalker, who's just, honestly, a really terrifying character. So the characters I absolutely love about this series. And so we're going to start by talking a lot about what I loved about it. Now we'll move into what I'm really not enjoying about this series, or series at this point. But I will say some things about this Sword of Truth, despite my feelings on it now, will still always have a special place in my heart, so to speak, because what I do know about the Sword of Truth, it was one of those book series that actually got me into high fantasy, and these big epic tomes of fantasy to begin with. And while the first time I read it was something like 15 years ago, so it's been a long time since I first read the Sword of Truth, long before I ever got into the whole booktubing thing. In fact, I'm pretty sure I might have started to read Sword of Truth before before YouTube was even getting started, or right about the time it launched. Anyways, a long time ago. The point is, when I first picked up the Sword of Truth, I fell in love with the world that was created right away. And there are some pretty awesome things about the world, to be honest. One of the things I mentioned was the characters. I love the character Richard and Kaylin. They are what I would describe as a power couple. They are so in love, and they are so fighting for each other every single step of the way. And nothing can break the bond that is joined between them. Richard and Kaylin's love is just incredible. And definitely what I would describe as a power love. It's just a phenomenal relationship and love that they have. And I love that about them. They couldn't be from two different types of worlds at all. Richard grew up a woods guide in Westland, where there is no magic whatsoever, raised by his eccentric uncle, grandfather like figure, Zedekiah Zolzarander, who he could not have been raised differently than Kaylin Amnel, who is the last of the Confessors. The Confessors are people that are composed of this magic that is able to strip the very soul, essence, and being and free will from an individual by a simple touch of their power. They were created to obtain confessions from the guilty, and they basically become a slave to the confessor's will. A confessor can say, "I want you dead," and they will drop dead instantly without hesitation. Kaylin is the last of the confessors, and she is an incredibly powerful woman who grew up in a very powerful position of authority in a world filled with magic, where Richard grew up in a world without magic whatsoever in Westland. Just the world building that was created throughout this. Nikki, the Death's Mistress, as she was called throughout the series, in the Palace of the Prophets, were the Sisters of the Light. take young men and train them to become wizards. And the magic system throughout this book series is just incredible. I absolutely love the foundational magic system based around the magic of life and the magic of death. Additive and subtractive, it's powered through life and death, is literally the magic of this world, which I think is just absolutely fantastic. There are so many different types of magic users in this world. We got war wizards, we got regular wizards, we got witches, we got sorceresses, we got Sisters of the Light, we got dreamwalkers, we got a character called Nicholas the Slide. There is so many different types of magic users within this world and different types of magical entities within this world as well. And I absolutely love that aspect of it. So much about the Sword of Truth has so many incredible world building aspects to it and characters that I absolutely love and still love the characters. But when it comes to the actual story, now we're kind of getting into the things that I don't like about the Sword of Truth anymore. Of course, when I first read this, I was like, well, yeah, go. But the thing is that now, as I've read so much, definitely my reading tastes have evolved. And now, what I see when I read the Sword of Truth is it is so incredibly black and white. There are clear good guys and clear bad guys. And this is just something that I never really enjoy in my reading anymore. I don't like this clear division between black and white, good versus evil, objective good guys and objective bad guys. And that kind of characterization, that kind of obvious divide, I don't like that as much. I love the great morally gray character aspect of it. There just aren't morally gray characters within this book series as a whole. There just doesn't exist. Richard and Kaelin and their group of friends and people fighting against Emperor Jegang. Richard and Kaelin's team is clearly the good guys objectively. Emperor Jegang's team is objectively the bad guys. Now, one thing that this book series really is clearly evident on as well is that the books themselves very clearly inspired by the libertarian ideals of Ayn Rand, which I didn't know at the time. When I first read this series, I didn't know anything about libertarianism. I didn't know who Ayn Rand is, but the ideals that it preached, the liberty, freedom, the ability to choose your own destiny, make your life yours without having someone tell you how to live and what to be. These were ideals that honestly resonated with me when I was first reading this series of books. And don't get me wrong, I still love those ideals. I love the idea of having a destiny that is our own. I love being in control of our own lives, having our freedom and liberty to choose to do what we will, so long as we don't harm other people. I love those ideals. And what you may not know about me is I actually did run in a political election for the province of BC as a libertarian candidate at one point. So the general principle and idea behind libertarianism is something that resonates with me a little bit, although my politics have certainly evolved quite a bit over the years as well, as I was never really extreme libertarianism, but I like the idea of saying, hey, let me live my own life, government hands off. And that's really kind of the messaging promoting within this book series. But the problem is that this book series gets so far to the extreme of either side of that spectrum that it becomes preachy and almost a religious, dogmatic view and preachiness behind how it promotes this messaging within these book series, to the point where it's just like, oh my gosh, stop it. And it gets to the point of libertarianism at the point of a sword, which goes so far beyond my personal worldview on how things should work, that it really started to be a message that really I don't enjoy anymore. I moved past that, essentially. It's not what I want to read in my books. It's not a message that resonates me to that degree or extreme. And never did to begin with. To be honest, I was never that extreme libertarianism, but it didn't really click into me when I was first reading this book series. And then on the other end, we have Emperor Jegang, where it goes out of the way, the series, to pound into just how horribly evil Emperor Jegang is. There's no nuance there. The writing goes out of its way to repeatedly show you just how bad he is and just how much hurt and pain and suffering Jegang will cause without blinking an eye, without even thinking or having any empathy towards those he is harming. It's just pounded into you over and over and over and over and over again. So it's excessive preachiness and messaging got to the point where it was excessively repetitive throughout the series. That it kind of, every book almost sounds the same. Every book rehashing the same ideas from the previous book. And so this series just isn't what it was once for me, and that's unfortunate because I love this series. Two of my daughters, Kaylin and Kara, are named after characters from these books. Although Kara likes to go by Maya, her middle name, but still I named two of my kids after characters from these books because I love these characters so much, and the books were just such a inspiration for me to get more into high fantasy. And now it's like, as much as I love the characters and the world and the magic system, the politics, the rhetoric, the clear black and white, the way that the messaging is just pounded into you over and over and over again with no nuance whatsoever, it's just, I'm torn. I've really struggled to feel that this is as good a series as I once believed it was. And that's really unfortunate, and that is the danger of rereading. And it's sad because I love this series, and now it's kind of it's a 50-50. I love half of it in the world building and magic, but I can't stand the messaging and the way the writing is. I can't stand how it's constantly preaching at you, and it's not what I come to enjoy in books anymore, and I clearly have evolved as a reader, and that's really unfortunate. And sometimes there's that inherent danger in rereading a book series that you've come to love. And I think that at the end, we're just gonna have to move on, break up. I'm gonna finish the other books in the Sword of Truth world, just because I've already downloaded them on Audible when I first started doing my reread through Audible and reading along. So I'm going to finish the other books I have on the Sword of Truth world. It's kind of past the initial Sword of Truth books. But I think after I'm done that, it's going to be time to fully move on and try to enjoy this little time we have left together. So, I'm sorry, Sword of Truth. It's just how I feel. And I don't think that we're meant to be together forever, and it's time to move on. So, there you have it. See you around. I'll always have fond memories of you, even if we've grown apart. And with that, I want to thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down below. Have you had this experience with rereading? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, until next time, keep on reading. Bye!